Someday from the village to the city, I hope we'll find common ground. Hating each other and you know it's pity. We need a lifeline before we drown. A lifeline before we drown. Saying a prayer for a better tomorrow. So much anger, sadness, and sorrow. Truth and love is well worth the struggle. It won't come easy, but it's worth some good trouble. Oh, someday from the village to the city, find safer ground. Hating each other and you know it's a pity. We need a lifeline before we drown. A lifeline before we drown. If you believe in your heart, don't doubt it. Raise up your voice and shout it. Keep on fighting, keep on dreaming, there's still a long way to go. Saying a prayer for the next generation. So much cruelty, violence, and frustration. The bullets keep flying and the years keep turning. The seas keep rising and the fires keep burning. Oh, someday from the village to the city, I hope we'll find common ground. Hating each other and you know it's a pity. We need a lifeline before we drown. A lifeline before we drown. We drown. Lifeline before we drown.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio. Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith, you know, the crazy mother-daughter travel team and publishers of Big Blend magazines. Of course, keep up with us at bigblendmagazines.com. And I'm super excited. You just heard Lifeline, the debut single from Good Trouble. It is the soulfully, awesomely coolest album out there. It's one of my favorites this year. And we're getting towards the end of the year, and I get like super excited to find an album that you're just gonna you know, keep playing it over and over and over again. And if I could drive with vinyl, I would, and play it, and then I'd have to get another one because we got over a lot of bumps. But it's out now. Good Trouble is out by Mutlu. It's a full-length album. He's based out of Philly. Incredible singer-songwriters you could just hear. I mean, he's just got the soul, man. And you may have seen him touring with like Hall-and-Oates and also singer-songwriters like Amos Lee. But I encourage you to go to his website, mutlusounds.com, and that's M-U-T-L-U, mutlusounds.com. I don't think I've ever interviewed a Mutlu before, so welcome. How are you?
Oh, great to be here. Thank you. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, this album is so cool. It flows. It's got that soul. It's got, what I love about it is you get a lot of soul, and like a lot of times we'll always go more R&B, and I love that, right? But you've got like soul going into some funk, into some, there's just got like this underbeat of funk in there, you know, and there's like it feels like you're doing some bass sides on your guitar on some of the songs, but and then you get like a little reggae vibe in it. It's badass. That's what really what I want to say. But yeah,
it's a hodgepodge of a bunch of different styles. But yeah, I'd say the R&B element, that's always kind of the driving force. But then I'll mix in a little bit of a folk element, a reggae element, and we kind of wanted to have that sort of stylistic sonic diversity, kind of a nice cross section of things on the album.
I think what I like too is that your music is for everyone. I think anyone can play it, any age. it's for everybody to listen to, and it's positive, it's real, and it's also, telling some story. It feels like an album that resonates very much with what's going on in our world today.
Yeah, that was important to me. I wanted to, I think more than some of my previous records, I wanted to be like very deliberate, kind of with every song and with kind of the arc of it. The first few tunes, Lifeline, Not Escapable, 95, they're dealing more like political, social commentary. And then I kind of wanted the latter half of the record to deal with more personal things, with Scarred, which kind of deals more with, just talking about depression, and then just some, classic sort of R&B style love songs, like Nothing This Whole Wide World or Oh My Girl. But I wanted to have that kind of arc from more the broad commentary to sort of, in the latter half of it, make it more personal.
Scarred is deep, man. And then at the same time, you got this beautiful guitar playing. I feel like, wait, I'm sitting at the ocean, and then I'm like, but I'm really feeling this, man. It's like
It's a heavy ocean, it's a sad ocean,
yeah, but it's I just that threw a surprise in there for me, because I was like, yeah, and then it's like, whoa, okay, slow it down a bit, because
Yeah.
that's way it's like what life is, right?
Yeah, it's that ebb and flow, and that was kind of a challenging song in a way, because it's not the easiest thing to write and release a song about depression, but it's something I've dealt with. It's something a lot of people deal with, and I thought it was important to me to have something that dealt with that, just even on the level of, I mean, I'm proud of the tune, but even the level of how, putting a song like that out there, now that I've been touring and playing shows and people getting feedback on it, it's been really meaningful to people who've had that same struggle. It's like a lot of depression is sort of feeling alone and isolated, and then you hear an artist maybe speaking on the same thing, it makes you feel not so alone. So I was hoping for that kind of, connection to people, or just for it to be sort of like a cathartic kind of thing.
I think it's a very important thing to bring light to. Depression flows through people in all different ways and all different experiences.
Absolutely.
And I know that
Absolutely.
I went through a series of fires and wildfires, disasters, and didn't feel like I was fine. I was kicking butt. I was doing all these fundraising programs for people, close people that lost everything. And it was a year and a half of 7 major evacuations, and 2/3 of our town burned down. And it was, I was fine, but I didn't really sleep because there was arsonists running around and all. Anyway, it was just a crazy time, and in life.
That's crazy.
And then I just wasn't sleeping, and then my personality wasn't like, I'm a happy person, man. And then all of a sudden, like, I wasn't normal anymore. And a friend of mine said, you've got a little PTSD slash depression over this. And eventually I did like meditation and stuff like that, and went back into nature and calmed down. And I think Mother Nature, she solves everything for me. And I just remember that time not getting that was what was going through me at that point.
Yeah, it can hit you sometimes. It can blindside you. It can come out of almost nowhere. Usually there's like kind of what that's such a difficult time you went through there. Like usually there's something that leads to it, but sometimes sometimes you don't quite know how to process it, and then it brings about this sort of emptiness. So like you said, there's a lot of people deal with it. There's different degrees of it, but it's the first time I sort of delved into that subject matter wise in a song, and it seems like it's really kind of resonated with people.
Yet it's beautiful, right? It's deep, but there's this that you have that balance. The guitar work, they're like basically shares that there's light. You can still get up.
Right. Yeah. So that classic folk finger picking thing. There's something in the music that maybe is bubbling underneath. That's like hopefully the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know if that's like was even conscious, but it's got that sort of classic folk finger picking thing, and it's a song that I really we added some production value to. I should mention, my co-producer on the album was Barry Samuelia, and he worked on my last couple EPs with me too. He also co-wrote a few of the songs with me. We wanted to make the production touches like subtle, but give it a little bit of a lift. But really, the core of it is just the vocal and that guitar picking pattern.
It actually almost had an echo of Simon and Garfunkel in a Okay, so it's not just me then. Okay, because I was going,
No,
because
no, I love Simon and Garfunkel. I love Paul Simon. So thank you. That's a big compliment because,
yeah,
yeah, some of their, especially some of the Simon and Garfunkel thing, some of their early records that were The Sound of Silence, or those kind of tunes had that kind of a chimey guitar picking kind of thing. There was a somberness to it. So, maybe without even consciously knowing, I was trying to channel that kind of sound. I thought a little bit the Beatles too, because they had tunes. Both McCartney and Lennon had some songs like that. But there's something like classic about it. But I guess maybe the subject matter is what some of the lyrical imagery is what makes it a little darker.
yeah. There's the darker, but then I think the guitar says, "Hey, you can open the curtains tomorrow morning."
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Well, I know we're going to play Not Escapable, but I think we should play Scarred for everybody, don't you think? So people can hear this.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe this is, maybe,
Uh,
we have a good setup for it here, so maybe that's the one to go with.
I know we can do anything we want. We're all adults here, everybody, and the sun does
Indeed.
shine. So
Yes.
here it does. Here it is, everybody. Scarred, again, off of the album Good Trouble. I want to talk about Good Trouble. Because that, man, we're so there right now. I love that title.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, everybody. Here it is, Scarred.
Try to pretend like I still care, but I just feel sadness everywhere. Nothing but empty conversation. I'd rather be left alone, 'cause I know I've gone too far. Never thought I'd be so scarred. I know my best days are long gone. Every time I say I've tried, all I've really done is lied. All I've really done is died a little bit more. Those demons never disappear from long ago, but they're still here, in the soil drenched in blood, in the stories never told. 'Cause I know we've gone too far. Never thought we'd be so scarred. I know our best days are long gone. And even though we say we've tried, all we've ever done is hide. All we've really done is die a little bit more. I know I've gone too far. Never thought I'd be so scarred. I know my best days are long gone. Even though I say I've tried, all I've really done is lie. All I've really done is die a little bit more.
So what, I have to bring this up, Good Trouble, because I love the name of that, and I feel like that's when, when it's the epitome of what you did with Lifeline, right? And the whole album is like, I'm gonna, put it out there, but I'm only gonna
Yeah.
go out there if it's positive, right?
Right. That was sort of the, just being in this climate, being outspoken, and just seeing the, when you take that stance of being politically outspoken, you inevitably get some pushback from people, and sometimes I've had pushback from people in a way that they get, pretty upset, and I feel like being on social media and having that political discourse, it's sort of where we all are, but it's not always the most productive for a dialogue, and starts to feel kind of hopeless. So that Lifeline song was about, like, is there some way to transcend this sort of divisive environment we're in? I'm I'm a progressive, I'm a liberal, and I realize there's people on the other end of the spectrum, including some people who might appreciate my music, who don't agree with what I have to say, but maybe maybe music is a way to sort of transcend that. I guess that's sort of what that song was about. Was to say, like, maybe there is some way, there is some opportunity, some platform somehow to get past this feeling of division and hopelessness, and make a connection. And I would say specifically the one line in the song, in the first verse, that inspired the title, "Truth and love is well worth the struggle, won't come easy, but it's worth some good trouble." That line was particularly inspired by Congressman John Lewis, who's a civil rights hero and has been the congressman for GA5 for many, many years. And he provides some good perspective that, in this day and age, we're so consumed with this 24/7, day in, day out media, we sort of don't always see the long view or the broad perspective. And his perspective is always, try to see the big picture, realize that the fight for equality, the fight for justice is a lifelong pursuit. And he personifies that. And he always uses that term, good trouble. You got to be willing to get into good trouble. Sometimes it's worth pushing some, it's worth dealing with some pushback or some confrontation when you speak out on things that matter to you and that are important to you. And it's important to be able to do that. So there was a number of different influences there, but that particular line and then the title of the album came from John Lewis. And I've heard that term used in other contexts, but to me, I always think of him when I think of that, and it's been meaningful to me in my life and sort of my trajectory. And it just seemed like the right way to sort of encapsulate what the album was about overall, especially those first set of songs.
It's interesting because either side could take that, right, and use it.
Right.
That's what I found. Was listening
Right.
to. I was like, that's interesting. But there's that saying too. When you see a good fight, get in it. And if
Right.
yeah,
Right.
just being silent, we can't anymore about anything. It's but I believe that music is a place where people can reunite, and you could be dancing on a dance floor and not know. Well, maybe you can. I
Right.
don't know. Are you dancing like a Republican? Are you dancing like a
No.
liberal? Is there a progressive shuffle? But
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, we travel full time, and the travel part to me is interesting because we go into all kinds of little towns, cities, and it just is, to me, there's a way of just connecting with people and then finding that unit. There's like a unifying bond of decency. And I mean, if we all,
Right.
and I think what happens on social media, we're meeting over topics and heated already. But when you're meeting
Right.
people, there's this other thing that happens that kind of prevents that. So you do a ton of travel, touring, and I know you
Yeah.
just came back from Amsterdam. I don't hear about that, but do you find it better to connect with audiences in person than doing I
Yeah.
mean, social media is important, but you know what I mean?
Sure. Absolutely. I think there's nothing better than, that's why performing live is my favorite part of it, because there's nothing better than being in a room with people. And even though I'm outspoken online or off stage, I don't get into anything didactic, or I don't get up there and preach about politics on stage. I don't do that, because I'm looking for that moment, that whatever, hour and a half, 2 hours at the show. I'm looking for that as a moment to unify. Now, if I'm talking about the songs like Not Escapable or Lifeline, yeah, I'll get into what the inspiration or what the essence of those songs is and talking about it, but I'm not trying to use that time to to get into
Yeah.
anything that gets really heavily political. I have a different platform for that online.
Mm-hmm.
So although it's important for me to speak out, I want the shows to be something unifying. And what something interesting happened because over the last 2 years, there are political things I've written that angered some of my friends that were, on the right. But and some of those people may have just checked out on me, but there are also a certain contingent of people who don't agree with me, but still appreciate what I do musically. And it's interesting to see that once the record came out, that there were some of these people who disagreed with me politically, but who really loved the album. And now think about this despite the fact that, on Not Escapable, I'm calling, Trump an angry orange baby, I slid that little line in there, we slid it in there. But I mean, sometimes when you put it in a musical platform, and that song, that's the one sort of throwaway line there, but that song is about something deeper that affects all of us, about just this feeling of exhaustion and
Mm-hmm.
anger that we all are feeling, but it's interesting that people who, if I put it, in a Facebook or an Instagram, Twitter post, whatever, they react a certain way. When I touch on some of those subjects in a more musical fashion, it's almost like it's more digestible to them, or
Mm-hmm.
they can appreciate it more from a certain standpoint. So that was an interesting thing to see, that to put it into the music and see how people interpret that message differently. Just like with what you said, there's one thing to go back and forth on Twitter or Facebook with people. I think that creates like a different kind of animosity. When you're in the room with someone and you have that same kind of conversation, it changes the whole dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we probably need more of that. And I think, in a political context, but in a musical context, I think the show is an opportunity for everyone to connect, everyone to feel unified in some way. That's what I hope to create. I don't want it to be a place where people feel alienated. I want it to be a moment where people can unify. And there are things within the lyrics that maybe someone might not agree with, but I'm not going to sit up there and preach at them in that context,
No, music is healing. It is unifying.
Yeah.
It's healing, and as an artist, you have to do your art. I mean, to me, there's nothing. It's you can't make fake art. I mean, there may be fake news,
Right. Yeah.
but
It's
you
got to be
can't.
real. It's got to be honest,
It's got to be honest. Otherwise, no one's going to go to your shows. It's like, and you're allowed to be who you are. There was just that thing that went around today with Ellen sitting at a football
Mm-hmm.
game with George Bush,
Right,
and
with
people
George.
getting mad at her, and she's like, we can have difference of opinion and still go to a game together and still be friends. And
Right.
besides, he's a good painter. He's better at being a painter than anyway. Just saying.
No, I know, and it's like that's the sort of, I mean, Ellen has done so much, for the LGBTQ community, and she's someone who has a huge platform. She's empowered so many careers. I mean, I understand why the optics of that weren't good, maybe for some people, but does that one moment suddenly cancel out all the good she's done? And I don't know however many years she's been in the public eye. I don't think so, but that's kind of what happened, because I saw that like backlash on her on Twitter today, and it's like, man, it's like, again, it's like the social media thing is tricky because it's where we all are, but I think it creates this sort of herd mentality, that this sort of angry herd mentality sometimes that kind of gets out of control, and it's hard to, and people start to see things in absolutes, because I know I've been guilty of it, because I'm staunch liberal. Like I know sometimes without realizing it, we all go on there to validate our worldview, and there are sort of these echo chambers. And if you see enough tweets and you're bombarded with that, it starts to really drive it home. And, but it's a tricky thing, because those sites are playing off of clickbait. They thrive off of negative. The algorithms thrive off of negative feedback, and unfortunately, negativity and animosity and division serves their business model better. I mean, it's essential. You got to be on Facebook, Instagram, so you got to be there. But something thoughtful and unifying, substantive, doesn't tend to resonate on those platforms the way things that are confrontational do. So I've been lately just thinking about how can I navigate all this? I got to be there. There's a lot of good that comes out of these sites, but you got to sort of balance it and not allow your thinking to be so beholden to it, because I know I have been for a long time. And I think we're all starting to realize that, okay, there's more to our cultural dialogue than just social media. It's important, but in some ways it's shaping things in a really sort of divisive way that, hopefully we can transcend that at some point, or maybe the sites can evolve and transcend that. I don't know
They're
what the answer to
changing.
that is.
They're changing. People are creating their own communities. We're creating our own Big Blend
Yeah,
community. So it's like a positive outlet where people
exactly.
can talk about music, they can talk about art. Obviously, politics is an important thing. We can't not look at it. We can't not talk
Right.
about it, but we can't not talk to the other side of the aisle. That doesn't help anything. Everyone has to unify to make decisions. And it I'm not any of it. When it comes to politics, I actually believe things per issue. I'm completely independent. I think parties are just,
Yeah.
I like a good party. Do not get me wrong.
Right.
But I don't like this kind of like only do what the party says. I'm like, you know, I would have been the top of my
No,
class if
yeah.
maybe I did that, but I don't do that, because then I don't know, that to me is it's sheepish, and now we're all going to wear the same uniform, and I had to wear a uniform to go to school, and I'm never doing that again. If I want to
Yeah.
wear cut off jeans, I want to, and I'll still study. I don't know. I don't like to be boxed in. Maybe that's why we're entrepreneurs on this side. You don't want to be
Right.
put into, this is how you're going to dress, this is how you're going to think, and you will do exactly what the party wants, and don't you dare think
Right.
outside the box. And no, screw
Right.
that.
Right. And that's dangerous thinking, because I think for creative independent thinkers, that's not, I think people who have a creative instinct, who have an independent minded instinct, they're not gonna, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel like how it should be. I mean,
I will not conform.
right. There's no absolutes, there's always there's a lot of gray area in life. I think it's easier for people to see things in a concise sort of black and white, cut and dry kind of thing. And life is rarely that. There's always more complicated. It's always more involved. There's always more multifaceted. But I think in a way, we are sort of so divided, that it's hard not to see things in absolutes. You almost have to kind of, like what you're talking about, you have to kind of break out of that a little bit to try to see it more long-term, big picture.
Yeah.
What's really at play. Because we become so entrenched. I know I've become entrenched on Twitter, and I go down all these rabbit holes, and I walk away half hour later feeling upset, spending time on Twitter. And I'm like, what is this? What's happening here?
You're
It's
going to
like,
have to write another Scarred just now. You know what I mean? It is
Yeah.
talk about depression. I often wonder about that. Are we outside getting enough sunlight? Are we on social media too much, to the point where, I had a friend who went to environmental school, and was in his 20s, and coolest guy, taught me all kinds of music, and he went and studied the whole political process, the ground up, everything, and every little thing of what every politician did to our environment, how they shaped like industrialization, and how everything. And he really just thought that we're done now. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
How do we ever? And after that, he just was like, there's no point anymore, because this is where it's going to go. And he ended up being
Right.
100% right. And I mean, he's got a family and kids, and I'm like, how did you do that? If you thought all that, you know what I mean? So you had to have hope somewhere. But for a good couple
Yeah.
years, he was, it was actually a very, very sad time, because he just saw too much. And I think that it can really affect you as a human being. But thank God for music, man. I swear to God, I think that's the one
Yeah.
thing. Get up, play some music,
Yeah.
you'll feel good, go on a road trip. Now, Amsterdam, how was that?
That was great. I had actually in May I'd opened 3 nights there for my friend Amos Lee. Actually we did 3 nights in London, 3 nights in Amsterdam. But in Amsterdam we played this place called the Paradiso, and the shows were awesome. And then they have a smaller upstairs venue there. So after having those 3 nights, it just made perfect sense to go back and do my own show, and it was great. I mean, the venue is awesome, and just being in that town, I love it there. Every time I go there, I just I just feel there's just a good energy to it. I don't know, just the canals, the layout of the city, just great restaurants and everything. I just it's probably I would have to say maybe at this point it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite places to go. to go play. So it was great. We were just there for a few days, but getting to do the show and even there, like I have some really diehard fans there now, and like there was a group of people who traveled from Germany to come to that show, and I'm like that's like meaningful to me. That happens a lot with a lot of my gigs, like where people will travel. I mean, they'll come from like and that's just like, man, like that's so special to me that these people took the time, because maybe I'm not making it through their town, so they find a show they can come to. I'm just so grateful for that support, to be able to travel around to all these different places where they're here in the States or abroad. That's, again, when all the trials and tribulations of the music business, when people come and support what you're doing and they make that effort to connect with you, that there's really nothing more rewarding than that.
I agree. I think that's, and really the thing is live music and being able to go and experience live music. I think we need it now more than ever. Like I was saying earlier, music is so important, but to go and see a live show is awesome. Are you taking a break for a little bit? I was seeing that you got some shows coming up at the end of the year. Because I know you've been all over with the tour with the album. What's happening?
Yeah. Well, now, basically at this point, we kind of did the big album tour push, toured a good amount in the spring, summer, early part of the fall. So now things will wind down a little bit. We'll start working on some new material. We'll still have a few gigs regionally here and there. And then, eventually build back up to, booking more dates for sort of late winter into spring, summer of next year. Kind of just goes in cycles,
Awesome.
But a little bit of downtime now after sort of the big Good Trouble push. Definitely covered a lot of ground this last 6 months or so. But yeah, a little downtime, try to recharge a bit, and then just start the whole cycle up again, get back out on the road next year.
Sweet. I hope we bump into you on the road somewhere. I'm going to watch your tour dates because we want to come see you perform. And yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. We're going to play Nothing in This Whole Wide World. So that's the latest single out now. But really, go get the whole album. See, this is definitely one of those. Go do your one thing. People buy one track. Just go get the whole album. It is so good. Mutlusounds.com is the website. It is MUTLU, mutlusounds.com, and you can find them on Twitter. Go get them on Twitter. Go get them. No, I'm kidding. But the album is Good Trouble. I got to give a shout out to today's sponsor, which is the National Parks Arts Foundation. This is one of our favorite organizations on the planet. What they do is they create these awesome artist in residence opportunities for musicians, singer-songwriters. There's one in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park for a month. Just saying, Mutlu.
Very cool.
Yeah, you get to stay in a house with 6 bedrooms and a recording studio and a dance floor overlooking the ocean while you write for a month.
Wow. Man, that sounds good to me.
I know. So they have these awesome opportunities for writers, musicians, filmmakers, poets all across the country in different national park units. And like Gettysburg, I think that's the closest one near you. I don't know. Yeah, around about there. They've got Dry Tortugas. Yeah, your own ocean island in the Florida Keys. I'm just saying, in Chaco Canyon and New Mexico. So everyone, nationalparksartsfoundation.org is the website for that. And we interview their artists every first Friday. You can hear our latest segment. And so check that out. And to keep up with us here on Big Blend Radio, we air new episodes Sunday through Friday. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. You never know where we're going to be as we travel the country on our Love Your Parks tour. So anyway, here it is. Nothing in This Whole Wide World. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Oh, my friends tell me that's just no good. I know better and it's understood that there ain't no doubt about it. Ain't no doubt about it. I know you're the only one for me, but when it feels so right, it was meant to be. Ain't no doubt about it. Whoa, nothing in this whole wide world could keep me from loving you. Nothing in this whole wide world could keep me from loving you. given to me.